Whoa, we got 92.8 amps. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Kelly with Signature Solar. Today we have something truly special for you, the all-new EG4 6000XP off-grid inverter. EG4 continues to apply the latest technology, pushing the boundaries to bring you dependable, cutting-edge solutions. The 6000XP is more than just an inverter. It's a comprehensive system engineered to fulfill all your off-grid requirements. Let's talk about why this inverter is a game changer. This inverter is very similar to the 18K PV, but in a more compact, affordable, and off-grid focused package. It's going head-to-head with competitors like the LV6548 and the 6500EX. But let me tell you, it has features that leave them in the dust. First off, this is an all-in-one solar inverter. Whether you're entirely off the grid or using grid input for supplemental charging, this unit has you covered. It's a 48-volt split-phase transformerless inverter that can utilize up to 8 kilowatts of PV. That's 4,000 watts per MPPT, while efficiently outputting 6 kilowatts of power. That's 3 kilowatt line imbalance. And get this, you can parallel up to 16 units for a whopping 96 kilowatts of output power. How about its peak voltage at 480 volt DC? This inverter has a maximum recommended PV input of 10,000 watts, intelligently spread across the two MPPTs, each utilizing up to 4,000 watts. What really makes this meaningful is that the high wattage allows for high voltage input, 480 volt DC across the two MPPTs. Not only does this optimize energy capture, but it also streamlines your setup by completely eliminating the need for a combiner box. It's efficiency and simplicity all wrapped into one powerful feature. The split phase feature allows for 120 240 volt service application with just a single unit. This means that you can run 240 volt heavy loads without needing two inverters. The EG4 6000XP comes with its own circuit breakers, making your installation faster and cheaper. No need to buy separate fuses or circuit breakers. It's all integrated, saving you time and money. It also offers GFCI and even arc fault detection on the MPPT, setting it apart from others on the market. And guess what? Like the 18K, it even has a disconnect switch for the PV input. This system is designed to be user-friendly and cost-effective. Even though this inverter is capable of handling lots of power, its idle power consumption is the lowest available. Idle consumption is about 50 watts with battery, less than 30 watts with PV, and less than 50 watts with AC. Talk about efficiency. Boasting a 93% charge and discharge efficiency with a max current of 140 amps, along with a 99% MPPT efficiency, this inverter outperforms similar-sized competitors by an average of 3%. Harnessing 8 kilowatts of power during just 5 peak sun hours, this inverter can generate an impressive 40 kilowatt hours of solar energy. With its exceptional efficiency, this inverter can help you conserve over 1.2 kilowatt hours daily. Plus, you'll benefit from its low idle power consumption, as well as the cost savings by requiring fewer solar components. The mountable Wi-Fi device ensures that you're always connected. Monitor your system through the app or online website, including full remote control of your inverter and remote firmware update with only your phone. You can even control multiple stations and units seamlessly. This inverter is capable of closed-loop communications, making it compatible with EG4 48-volt batteries and other brands. Just a quick firmware update for the LifePower 4 batteries, and you're good to go. As always, EG4 prioritizes safety. This inverter is UL 1741 certified and is FCC Part 15 Class B compliant. With its IP20 rating, this unit is optimized for indoor installation, ensuring a controlled environment for maximum performance and longevity. As if those features weren't impressive enough, this unit also offers a sleek transformerless design as well as an integrated wire box complete with built-in breakers and conduit openings, which saves you hours of install time and hundreds of dollars. Don't forget that this device also allows the convenience of remote fine-tuning and firmware upgrades through the EG4 software. Plus, It comes with a 50 amp AC bypass from the grid and a 30 amp AC bypass from a generator, offering you even more flexibility and control. This inverter's got your back during power spikes too. It can handle 12 kilowatts for roughly 3.5 seconds and 11 kilowatts for around 5 seconds. Perfect for giving your system that extra boost when it counts. All of this is backed by the peace of mind that comes with a solid 5-year warranty. The EG4 6000XP is not just an inverter, it's a complete energy solution. Today, we'll quickly walk you through an installation and commissioning of the 6000XP, then we'll test out its capabilities. I look forward to that. Before we start the installation process, let's keep safety in mind, make sure all circuit breakers are in the off position, and always wear your safety gear. Next, grab your multimeter and check the battery bank to ensure no voltage is present. This is crucial for a safe installation. Let's find the perfect spot for your inverter. Find a location that has good ventilation, providing adequate heat dissipation. Designed with an IP20 rating for indoor use, ensure that the unit is positioned away from direct exposure to sunlight and areas where snow can accumulate. Once you've settled on the right place, it's time to get that inverter up on the wall. Keep in mind, it needs to be upright and sturdy enough to support its 53-pound weight. Let's take our mounting template. It looks a lot like packing, but this piece of cardboard will help you be precise in determining where your screws will be installed. Check with a level before making your marks. I was always taught, measure twice, cut or drill once. So let's double check those measurements. Your marks should be spaced approximately 10.63 inches horizontally and 26.4 inches vertically. You may even want to hold the inverter up to your holes to make sure they align perfectly. Let's pre-drill our holes. We'll need a 5/16 inch drill bit, and we'll use this to drill at least 2 inches deep. Insert the expansion bolts, then grab a buddy to help you hold the inverter in place. Use the included nuts and washers to secure it to the wall. Time for the PV cables. Use a 4-pole 600 volt 20 amp DC isolator switch between the inverter and PV modules. For a single string, a 2-pole 600 volt 20 amp isolator switch will do. Use 10 to 6 gauge cables torqued to 1.2 Newton meters or 10.62 inch-pounds. For our PV connection, consult with your installer or solar electrician to help you select the right cable size. Factors like voltage drop and cold weather need to be considered since these can push the voltage above the inverter's 480 volt DC limit. Also, double check your string size of your PV arrays, keeping in mind the lowest temperature possible for your area. The inverter needs at least 140 volt DC to start and shouldn't go over 480 volt DC. For guidance, reach out to our sales, design, or tech support teams here at Signature Solar. Once you've got the right cables and string size, align the polarities. You will have to remove the bottom cover to reveal the wiring inputs. This is where your solar panels will output DC power into the inverter. Connect red to positive and black to negative for the first string into the MPPT number 1 input. With a flathead screwdriver in hand, gently loosen the screw above the input. Next, insert the wire and then securely tighten the screw back into place. Gently tug on the wire to make sure it has a firm connection. Repeat for the second string in MPPT number 2. For more string sizing details, see page 15 of the manual or consult a solar professional. Now let's connect the battery cables. Make sure all breakers are in the off position and that there's no voltage. If using a battery rack, double check all connections. Attach the red cable to the battery positive terminal and black cable to the battery negative terminal. Tighten the screws to 36 to 45 inch-pounds or 4 to 5 Newton meters. Be advised that the recommended battery capacity is more than 200 amp hours. For the 48 volt EG4 LLS, EG4's newest batteries that we're using today, which have a 100 amp hour capacity, we would parallel at least 2 of these together. You can also pair this inverter with the EG4 Power Pro wall mount battery, which boasts a 280 amp hour capacity. This inverter can communicate in a closed loop with EG4 48 volt batteries and other brands. A firmware upgrade will be required for this to work with the LifePower 4 batteries when connecting to any Lux branded inverter. For closed loop communication, consult your battery manual for the right settings. Plug the inverter to battery cable into either CAN or RS485 port on the inverter and connect it to your battery. Navigate to setting 3 on the inverter, select lithium ion, and choose your battery make and model. Confirm with enter. For the AC input, it's essential to have a certified electrician manage the connections. This is your link to the grid or your generator, so a stable and reliable connection is vital. Also, please note that the color codes for AC and DC wiring differ. It's crucial to not mix them up, so adhering to local codes and safety guidelines is a must. For a seamless and safe installation, we highly recommend consulting professionals. Use 8 gauge for your grid, generator, and load connections torqued to 18 inch-pounds or 2 Newton meters. Connect the AC output ground to the PE bus bar. So here we have our line 1 and our line 2 for our loads that go to our panel. Here's where we'll connect our grid, line 1 and line 2, and these are our generator connections, line 1 and line 2. We have, of course, our grounds coming to our PE bus bar here, and all of our neutral connections will go to our neutral bus bar below. When we connect our AC, we have our black going to line 1, so we'll connect our loads, our black to line 1 for our loads. We'll have our red be our line 2. And of course, our white is again connected to our neutral bus bar below. Our grid connections, again, black is line 1. Just give those a gentle tug to make sure they're secure. This inverter is also capable of rapid shutdown. We can take an external initiator with normally closed contacts, and we can wire it up here to our SW contacts. Prepare it for rapid shutdown when the button is hit. The EG4 6000XP inverter features 2 dry ports for enhanced remote control capabilities. The normally open 2 COM2 port can activate external devices when your battery voltage reaches a preset warning level, while the normally open 1 COM1 generator port allows for automatic generator startup. In the event of a grid outage, this inverter can seamlessly integrate with a generator. Ideally, one that's at least 1.5 times the inverter's output and has less than 3% total harmonic distortion. With the correct configuration, your generator will automatically kick in when either the battery voltage dips too low or the battery management system sends a charge request. This enables the generator to both recharge your batteries and power your loads. For detailed guidelines on selecting and configuring your generator, refer to page 16 of the manual. The 6000XP inverter works great off-grid. No utility or generator needed. But for a full off-grid living, think about 8 to 12 kilowatt diesel generator for cloudy days. The inverter has a 30 amp AC bypass, so make sure your generator's continuous output ability is larger than that to keep the sine wave as stable as possible. Imagine turning your 6K inverter into a massive 96 kilowatt system. Yep, you heard that right. You can link up to 16 units, each with its own battery and solar setup. If selling power back to the grid isn't your objective, you have the flexibility to expand your system in affordable and manageable steps. Now let's get into making parallel connections. For the first and last inverters in your system, set their CAN communication pins to on, both up. Every inverter in between should be set to off, both down. Connect a communications cable from the second parallel port of the inverter to the first parallel port on the next. Keep going until you reach the last inverter. Then loop the cable back to the first or master inverter's first parallel port. With 2 units like we have here today, we will set both pins to on. Connect them in parallel using 2 cables, one for the outside parallel ports and another for the inside parallel ports. Now, if you're connecting 6K inverters in parallel, here are a few tips. If you're using a generator, make sure it's connected to all parallel inverters. Can't divide your solar strings evenly? No worries, just put more PV strings on the master inverter. Each inverter's LCD shows its own contribution, not the total system output. Okay, let's begin trying to get these set up. First, make sure all your inverters are running the latest firmware. To verify, reach out to your distributor. I would recommend jumping ahead at this point to downloading the smartphone app for EG4's remote monitoring software. Install your Wi-Fi dongle and connect your inverter using the Wi-Fi dongle to download the most recent firmware. For step-by-step guidance on app download, registration, and connecting your dongle to your home Wi-Fi, refer to section 9 on page 38 of the manual. Now we want to double check our wiring. Make sure all power and communication cables are correctly wired. Verify your dip switch settings according to your battery manufacturer specifications. Always keep safety first. Be sure to follow the inverter startup and shutdown procedures outlined in section 12 of your manual. Let's quickly go through the startup sequence. Ensure all circuit breakers are in the off position. Using a multimeter, check the battery bank to ensure no DC voltage is present. Check the external PV isolator switch via multimeter to ensure the DC voltage is in the MPPT's optimal operating range, 100 to 480 volt DC and less than 17 amps, as well as less than 4,000 watts per MPPT. If utilizing AC output, double check each hotline to neutral coming into the inverter to ensure voltage is within the operating range of the unit, between 120 and 240 volt AC and less than 9,000 watts. Turn off all your load breakers and confirm no AC voltage with a multimeter. Once confirming that all voltages are within the inverter's operating range, turn on the battery breaker on the front of the unit. And if equipped, turn on the external battery breaker between the battery bank and the inverter. Begin powering batteries on one at a time in about 5-second intervals. Turn on the PV isolator switch if equipped, then turn on the PV breaker on the side of the unit. Power on the inverter using the power switch on the side of the unit. Turn on the external AC output breaker going to your panel. Next up, we'll flip the EPS output switch to start powering our devices. But listen up, if you're running multiple inverters in parallel, the sequence in which you turn on those EPS output switches is crucial. You will need to make sure that you flip the EPS output switch on the inverter you want to use as your master first. Then you should be able to turn on the EPS on your other inverters connected in parallel. With all batteries on, make sure the communication works on all units. You should see battery banks connection on the home page of your LCD screen. Check the parallel info via the home page on the LCD. From the home screen, if you press the down arrow 3 times, you should see the 1pH on the host inverter and 1ps on the slave inverter. If you don't see that, we can change it. Let's set this up. Hold Enter down for about 5 seconds. Top left words will start blinking. Navigate to setting 21. For split phase parallel, set it to 1pH. Parallel phase. Your LCD will show a new setting. Set the inverter to P1 for phase 1 and repeat for all inverters. Enable this setting, battery shared, on all parallel inverters if batteries are connected using a common bus bar. The default setting would take into account each inverter's battery bank. For phase confirmation, make sure all inverters are set to P1 phase. For your master battery, confirm the communication cable is properly connected from the master battery to the inverter. Now, if you're only using a single inverter system, set setting 21 to no PL for no parallel and proceed to finish the commissioning. All right, the moment of truth. To determine the proper host and slave definition of your inverters, if connected in parallel, turn on the power and the EPS output on the host inverter first to designate it as host. Then, turn on the EPS output on the rest of the inverters paralleled past the host using the switch on the side of the unit to define them as slaves. On the main inverter display, press down 3 times, then check the numbers and letters in the top left. Host inverter should read 1pH, P1, 1, and the slave should read 1ps, P1, 1. You should see the LCD screen light up, indicating that the system is live. Now, navigate through the LCD menu to configure your settings. This is where you'll set your battery type, max generator input, and other advanced settings. Take your time and make sure everything is set up to your liking. A lot of people would rather do this on the app. It may be easier to understand if you wanted to configure your settings on the app. Okay, friends, we've got everything set up, but how do we know this inverter can handle the loads you'll be throwing at it? Well, there's only one way to find out: a load test. All right, it's time to finally see what these two inverters can do. We've got two wired in parallel, being powered from a battery bank, and currently we are showing 42 watts. That is our less than 50 watt idle consumption connected to battery bank DC. So let's power on our loads and see what we're able to run off of these two inverters. Okay, we've got our light on. Let's turn on our television. Everything working good so far. Let's turn on some burners on our stove to their highest power. And we're starting to heat up. Got a light, shows our burners are on. I heard the inverter kick on. See if we can start up our dryer. Everything seems to be running just fine. What do you think? Should we try the compressor? Let's see if it can start up our compressor. We're running, no problem. Let's see if we can do this with just one inverter. All right, let's see what only one inverter can handle. I've got all the breakers turned off of our second slave inverter. We have disconnected our paralleling cable, so we're just running off one inverter. We're gonna test the inrush current off of this compressor. Whoa, we got 92.8 amps. We've seen that this inverter can handle over 90 amps in rush. Let's see if we can overload this inverter and make it turn off. We'll start with the compressor. Right. And we got one burner on before it turned off, with the compressor and the dryer running as well as the light. Pretty cool. These inverters also have rapid shutdown capability with an external initiator wired to your ports right in here. Let's test them out and see if rapid shutdown works. So we've got our light on. We're going to turn our TV on. Flip on our burners. We're still running in parallel. We're able to power all of these loads. Let's turn on our dryer, and then we'll hit the rapid shutdown switch and see if everything turns off, including the breakers on our battery rack. Right, we're running, and lights are off, dryer's off, all of our breakers flipped. Rapid shutdown works. Are you still trying to decide if this unit is right for you? If you watched our previous video on the EG4 18K PV hybrid inverter, you know it's designed for larger installations. It's capable of utilizing up to 18 kilowatts of PV and continuous 12 kilowatts of power output. It's perfect for large residential systems, especially if you're interested in selling power back to the grid, thanks to its comprehensive certifications allowing installations pretty much anywhere. However, don't overlook the EG4 6000XP off-grid inverter. This more compact unit is great for smaller installations, but can be parallel connected up to 16 units to match the output power of larger systems. This flexibility makes the 6000 XP a versatile and cost-effective solution, especially for those who don't need to sell power back to the grid. So, whether you need the high capacity and advanced features of the 18 kPV or scalability and cost effectiveness of the 6000 XP, we've got an inverter that's just right for you. And there you have it. The EG4 6000 XP inverter is not just feature rich, but also incredibly reliable. If you have any questions or need further assistance, feel free to reach out to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more awesome content. I'm Kelly with Signature Solar, where we are convinced that solar is for everyone.